some green flags after, it was so nice because after I worked at Theranos, I worked for this small family business, like biotech firm, and it must have been like 22 people. And it was such a safe haven in comparison to what I had experienced before, where it almost shocked me a little bit. It's like, oh, you know, I can talk to the CEO of the organization and not tremble about a failed experiment. Like, okay, that's a good thing. And I think those organizations where you can have honesty, where you can have candor, where there's a lot of ability to talk to anyone and not feel like you're doing something wrong just for having a conversation who might be in a bigger position of authority, and really having that honesty and that candor is really important. I think another thing, like failure is sort of this funny thing, like people are very scared of failure, but actually it's really necessary in order to succeed. And you have to think of the instances of like the micro failures are really important. You're gonna make mistakes. Everyone is gonna make mistakes. There is no organization, there's no human being, there's nothing where mistakes are not gonna be made, where you're gonna have these instances where you know, things don't go the way that you plan and you fail. But it's like, how do you account for those errors? And paying attention to cultures that are like, we know we're gonna make mistakes, here's the processes, the protocols in order to address those. If something goes wrong, here, this is how we're gonna mitigate it. Maybe we're gonna scrap it. Maybe we're gonna try and iterate on it. So that's what's something to pay attention. How do people handle the micro failures? Yeah. And build upon that. I think some other things is like, I think diversity is very important in terms of the way that you construct your organization, specifically if you're dealing with things that are very, very complicated. You need people who come from many different backgrounds, who are able to see the same circumstance and be able to draw different information from it. You know, it's very easy. There's this big push in tech of like, you need to have culture fit, and having people align with your values, having a situation where people feel that sense of belonging, of course, that's important, but you don't want everyone to sort of be in a circumstance, in a situation where everyone is so similar, they think the same, they do the things the same, that they have this strong social cohesion in a way that if you are a little bit outside of that box that they've created, all of a sudden you're not a team player, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe you're better suited somewhere else. So I think for me, like really paying attention, were people intentional about the way that they constructed their organization, of the types of people they brought in, to really think about, can the right people ask the right questions as we innovate and develop our organization? And then I think governance, right? Good governance goes a long way. And it's something that is, we've known forever, but it gets ignored at various junctures where people just don't see its utility, or they leverage it for other reasons. I know in tech, there was the big emphasis on creating boards that could just bring as much money through the door. Yeah. Versus about how are these boards really holding these organizations accountable? Do they have the right expertise if you're doing, a biotechnology product or an agriculture product, to start asking the critical questions about, what is that going to mean when it releases to the public? How do you get it to commercialization? What does it look like in terms of the long-term consequences that this might have, both for the organization and the different stakeholders it engages with? So these are some of the things that now I think I look for. In addition to, as Cynthia was saying, there's a long list of things you can look for, but those are some key pillars.